Hello, everybody. It's Renee Cormier from the Fractional Referral Network. Today, we're talking about empowering fractionals to drive client success. Our guest today is Fractional VP of Sales, Todd Snelgrove. Todd has a proven method of delivering sales and pricing, and I had it all worked out perfectly, Todd.
All good.
Help me out. Makes money for businesses. That's all you really need to know. Sorry, Todd.
No problem.
Welcome aboard. Tell me, Todd, how do you help companies figure out what makes them valuable to their clients, and why is that important anyway?
I think the only way you can price is based on the value you deliver, the perceived value to the client. So it needs to start with what is your value. And in a lot of markets, you're actually able to quantify value. You can actually start putting numbers beside your value proposition. And what you find with most buyers these days, the harder the value, the more they're willing to pay for it. If it's a warm and fuzzy feeling and it's a high dollar amount, they're going to stop and think a lot more. But if I can write a business case saying, if you work with me and if we do these 5 things, here's the range of impact I think it could be. Here's the investment. Here's the expected return. Their willingness to pay is much higher.
Very good. That's important because when you're pricing for your clients, right, it's about showing the value of the outcomes that you're going to produce, right?
Yes, outcomes is what we want to focus on.
Okay, so what are some ways businesses can show the value they give to clients, and how does that help them keep clients and continue to grow?
I won't make it a long answer, but there's a lot of components in that question. I mean, number one, if you can quantify what you do. So just take your value proposition and write down all those words in your presentations or on your website. Faster, easier, less, more, any of those adjective type words, and start saying, what's the impact? And of course, the impact is different for every one of your customers, but you can get an idea in ranges. So that's number one, to get a clear, concise value proposition, hopefully that you can quantify. That's where I spend a lot of my work. 2, pricing models actually help customers think based on value versus price by the hour. There's an old famous article, the death of the billable hour. You don't want to buy my input. You want to buy my outcome. And what you find, and I've learned a lot of this from other people, but from a pricing psychology, if you give people choices, i.e. we could work on an hourly basis, or it could be a fee, or it could be a fee with an outcome associated with it. And I'm making this up on the fly, but if you're in marketing and you're doing SEO optimization, maybe some KPIs associated with it. And sometimes companies will say, wait a minute, I could end up paying you more. If you do what you do, I could end up paying you more. And I make numbers up. The $10,000, let's just stay there. It's easy. But because you are willing to take a little risk and reward, you must believe you can deliver this. But if you say, and I'm making it up, it's $450 an hour in the minimum, right away my mind starts challenging that. And the last example I'll use there before I make one more point, and this could be just me, I'm an ornery buyer, but if I had to go buy a car today and they only gave me one choice, write the check for $50,000, I'm sure I would want to lease it. If they would only lease me a car, I would want to buy it. Choices help people structure things. And again, it's different for different people at different times. And the last 2 points I'd like to make is a lot of what we do is services. And there's a great article. If anybody needs it, they can reach out. You can go online, but they might charge you for it. It's from a professor that I know. It's more for business to business, but it applies for fractionals also. Listing your services and having a free version and a for-fee version. It's called moving from free to fee. And a lot of times we think, okay, I'll do this for free because it's a good client. It's bundled into my overall price, et cetera. What you find is that if you show customers, here's the free version, here's a for-fee version, some of them will choose the for-fee. Think of rush shipping. If you just say shipping's free, well, wait, shipping in 7 days is free, but shipping tomorrow is for a fee. Let's have an initial consultation. I'm making numbers up. 30-minute intro call, that's free. A 2-hour deep dive with questions beforehand is for a fee. So take your offering and structure it so there's kind of maybe 2 options. And then the last thing, and we don't need to overcomplicate it, Doesn't need to be fancy, but just to remind your clients all the things you've done for them when you do I mean, some of us might have a CRM system and we don't need to write out reports. I talked to you 15 minutes and then I helped you that time. But people forget pretty quickly. It's last in, last out, or whatever that saying is. So, constantly reminding you, this is what I've done for you. This was the results of it. So hopefully buried in there, Renee, there was a few ideas to help clarify your value.
Lots of great ideas, and they are all relevant to people in that fractional space, is knowing how to create a product, how to price it, how to structure it, rather than, and too many fractionals offer their services on a per hour basis. And there's nothing worse for your business than that, because you'll have to, first of all, justify every 5 minutes of your time. You will forget to look at the clock when you started or when you finished. You'll be rolling around in bed at 2 a.m. and you won't you won't be charging your client, or you'll be driving in the car. You won't charge your client, or you'll be thinking, well, how long did I spend doing this or that? You'll have so much that, and the balance of power is wrong, and it causes a stress. If the business owner knows that every month you're going to cost them 10 grand, they would rather know that than have some months 2 grand, some months 16 grand. And that unpredictability is very, very difficult, a much harder sell, and it's a very uncomfortable relationship to have with your client. But you
And
can be a
just
lot more transparent and a lot more service focused if you're not nickeling and diming every minute of your time.
and I've seen some fractionals use that pricing example I gave, and I'm going to make numbers up. It's $900 an hour, or it's 3 days for $10,000 a month. But wait, that's cheaper. Yes. So if I can anchor against a bad number, then people like the other number. I do have 1 or 2 clients that I do have an hourly relationship with, and it's only because I've done a lot of work for them over the years, and I get the call. We've got an opportunity in front of some big customer. I want you to review our key account presentation. And some of them are 30 minutes, some of them become 2 hours. And we just agreed, Todd, we trust you. You're on the phone, but there's no pre-work. There's none of that. But in general, I try to stay away from it. And again, find the article, The Death of the Billable Hour. It will give you 10 arguments to use with clients. And so you don't want to pay me by the hour. It actually misaligns the value proposition. The better I get at something, the faster I do it for you, the less money I make. Does that seem, you want me to be getting better, not taking my time, like to see with lawyers. I'm not a lawyer. The death of the billable hour might be helpful because you're counting activity.
Why be penalized for your expertise, right?
Exactly.
Your ability to do something quickly. There's a disincentive to hurry.
Yeah. And again, I like to tell stories, and hopefully everybody gets a laugh of this. I was in Australia years ago, and it was with a huge consulting company. Think of one of the big 3. And this was a partner, whatever, high level. And I said, with all the times you've done this type of work, this was government work, but it doesn't matter. All the times you've done this work, don't you have a simple toolbox? You could just go in and open up the sheet and go, let's reuse it. And he looks at me, he goes, you don't understand consulting. And I said, what do you mean? If I make it look easy, I can't charge what I charge for it. So just because I that's what I do, I make it look like everything's customized, because there's no way they would write the 6-figure check if they realized it took me 30 minutes. And I just started laughing. It's like, wow. Again, it was before my consulting days.
Perceived value. So how can fractionals in areas like marketing, sales, and HR use value-based ideas to help their clients set prices and improve their services?
Sorry for me. A question popped in. They started to read it, and I said I'll read it afterwards. So I only got half the question. I'll come back to the question after this or at the end.
Do you want to handle? Was it Ina who sent the question?
Yes.
Hi there.
Again, this is just Todd's opinion. So, one, a retainer. I'm going to make up numbers just to help with the example. But if I'm $100 an hour, and the customer is usually doing 1,000 or something like that, my hourly rate's going to go up, or we could have a retainer with a minimum number of monthly hours. I think when you go on, I've got slides and I don't want to start pulling up slides, but I mean, They penalize you if you go to the gym and you only want the ad hoc one at one time. You get it unlimited. You get a retainer price much lower. You go on the cruise ship. You want to unbundle it and just pay as you go. All the prices each end up being much higher, and everybody says I might as well buy the bundled price. So over time, I would start making my hourly bundled rates much higher, and then you get bundled packages. That's much better to go that way. Number one. Number two, which I'm not sure was your question, and I've got to do better at this. And again, the problem is clients come in and clients go out. But anybody that has a long-term client relationship, please put in your contract an annual price increase. I would set it at inflation, but you have no idea 5 years later that 3% a year becomes about $20. It's 20% that's left on the table. And this is a true story from a procurement gentleman that said to me, he goes, "You guys don't get it." I said, "What?" It's when you go from $100 an hour or widget to 120, I have a problem. 100 to 103 to 106, whatever that is, I let that go through.
Yeah.
So I got a buddy long, hey, small little increments. People don't just think of your cell phone bill. I don't know where everybody lives, but as long as the bill stays the way it's always been, it doesn't cause me a problem. I live in the States now, but every once in a while, every year, it goes from like 100, it's my cable bill, 160 to 250. Whoa, we have a problem. And what does it make me do? Two things. One, I might call Comcast and yell at them, but I'm also now looking at the other options because the price increase was so much. Now I'm interested a little bit every year. I've even said to them, you want to know what? This phone call is a waste of time every year. Why don't you just put a 3% price increase and I'll leave you alone? I hope there was something in there for you, Ina, to take away.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yes, that's very useful. The question I had was, how can fractionals in areas like marketing, sales, or HR use value-based ideas to help their clients set prices or improve their services?
Well, again, I think first is walk the life of what that client does for their customers. Okay. I mean, go on joint rides, go watch them do what they do, ask them what the benefit is. And then, maybe it wasn't 100% part of the question, Renee, but really challenge them. If they give you weak, generic value propositions, we're more responsive. Oh, we care about our customers. Oh, your competitors don't care? I mean, really, well, I don't know how to measure. Okay, again, there's an exercise I do. It's called So What? If someone says something, so what does that mean? What does that mean? What is the benefit? I'm making this up. It's faster. It's better. They don't need to keep somebody full-time on staff. Renee, I've said to people, and I don't want to sound arrogant, but you get more out of me a day a week for 6 months than you would hiring a $50,000 someone starting off in sales. I've got access to the best salespeople in the world. I know it sounds arrogant, but you're not paying me by the hour. Really, I mean, you got to reframe it because I think we've all run into it. $100 an hour times that many hours. Holy crap. So first thing is challenge them. What value do you bring to your clients? How can we monetize that? Quantify it first so that we can start pricing for it. And my job in marketing, as an example, would be to build the Marcom material to help you explain to your clients the value you bring. I'm just working on a project for an industry I had no background in, but we started with value quantification. This lady, she does travel nursing. She supplies travel nurses. And again, this is the States. So if anybody's on here from Canada, I'm not sure the apples to apples, but there's a shortage big time in these small hospitals. The small hospitals can hire somebody for $38 an hour. She charges out at $80 an hour. Pretty big difference. We've actually just completed 2 analysis with 2 hospitals. Her $80 an hour is actually cheaper than the 38. And not just because of the taxes. I don't have time or the interest to go through it all, but there was a lot more value drivers. And she's been in the business 20 years. And she's like, I never thought of that. So that's part of our job, is to have that outside set of eyes. And I kept challenging her value proposition. Then we started on a piece of paper, quantifying it. Then we challenged some customers with it. Once we got buy-in of, wow, you're right. Now we're working on the marketing material to present with a marketing fractional lady I'm working with to make that material. And then eventually we'll work on some pricing models. So hopefully that answers something in there again, Renee.
That's very useful, Todd. So what are the biggest mistakes you see companies make when they try to show their value?
Well, they lead with, and again, because of my background, which is more B2B type stuff, and subjective value is important. I prefer to do business with somebody I like. I won't do business with somebody I hate. But I like you and I like you. I'm not paying you 20% more because you're funnier than that person. I mean, that's me. But just hanging their hat on very vague, generic value statements, and just holding on to relationships. Relationships change. If maybe one of your clients is a family business, mom and dad retire, sell the business, somebody whatever, that you might not have the same relationship. I mean, relationships are important, but you have to do more than that. And always let everybody within the organization understand the value you're bringing. Again, you might have the contract with the owner. The owner's very happy, but the more people I can touch within a company, the more I learn. But the more they think, hey, I can bring that person in, so it might help me generate more revenue. But also, I'm stickier with that business if things change, because I'm amazed at how sometimes something, businesses get sold and they're like, whoa, there goes my biggest client. They just got bought by somebody else. And the owner's like, I'm cashing the check and I'm gone. And I'm like, okay, now I got to explain to somebody new who I am and what I do. So width of your connections, the harder the value proposition, the better off you'll be. And they will be also.
Anybody in the audience here have any questions for Todd? I know he's good. He's got a lot of information. So come on, ask him questions. This is your time.
I have a question. This is Ina. Just going back to the retainer model.
Mhm.
So you're suggesting with the retainer model, there be like a minimum. Is there a maximum hours? How do you usually structure that?
I mean, again, if you have the availability, maybe that's one way to say it. I would say, no, but the retainer keeps, again, one, cash flow for you. They should see a benefit of doing that way. If it's just, I'm making up numbers here, here's 10,000 a quarter and you're going to charge me, we'll just say the $100. And when it gets down to a certain level, I replenish it. That's where it's really a cash flow difference instead of you waiting to get paid. I'm not saying that's not an important thing, but they should see a benefit in that for them. They get more hours, they get more access, they do something. Another comment, and I learned this from another, they're not fractional, but a marketing agency. They said, you realize our pricing is not the same all the time. So what do you mean? There are some clients, and he looked at the guy I was with. I guess our company was notorious for this. It's Thursday, it's an emergency. I need this by Monday. Okay, those hours are at a different price.
Mhm.
I mean, again, we all live that world. You can always say it and then say to them, look at, I can waive it this time. Or, you blame somebody else, but there are some clients that are more expensive to do business for than others. I think another one with a retainer that I've said is, you have my access. We have a long-term agreement. We have a relationship. I've got your money sitting here, etc. When somebody else calls and says, hey, I need you now, I'm like, I'm in the middle of something. I don't know about you, but I have some clients that think I'm just sitting here waiting for them to call all the time. Like,
Yes.
believe it or not, I'm actually doing something,
Mhm.
whether that's maybe business development. So that it's easy to say, fine, I'll take the order, but I'm in the middle of a huge project. It's due on whatever day. I can't. They've got a commitment to me. You don't. I mean, I think that'd be something else to structure it so the customer sees the benefit, not just I'm giving you 10,000 up front. Go ahead.
The term retainer, I think a lot of people misunderstand it.
Okay.
So retainer is, you're giving me money and I'm going to subtract hourly from
Yeah.
that. That you don't, it's the same as me charging hourly. Don't do it.
Okay.
Do a fee for service. So a fee for an outcome, $10,000 a month for 40 to 50 hours of work. If you need an hourly gauge, fine. But these are the outcomes that we are producing. And there's no guarantee of time. You're not buying time, you're buying outcomes. So when you do your work, Ina, you make sure that the client is receiving outcomes, and this is what it costs. So when Todd talked earlier about bundling products and things, that's what you do. And the same with people on the executive side, less on the tactical side, same thing. Your time has value, your expertise has value. You want a plan, it's going to cost this much, an assessment is that much. I do this, that, and the other over a period of 6 months, and it costs $60,000. You can pay me monthly if it makes it
Mhm.
easier for you. You know, that kind of thing.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay.
And the other, just to add on to Renee's comment, I've done that once where somebody, was like, I think I could get the whole project done in a month. And another person goes, tell them it's 3 months. One, it gives you more bandwidth. Two, if they see that price over 1 month, this is the way people start to think. They go, holy crap, that's a lot. It's the same outcome. I just made it over 3 months.
Yes.
I felt happier that they were getting more, but they weren't getting more. It was just, people do that math thing. And yes, retainer, I should have clarified. That's all the lawyer does is take the money in, and then it's by the whatever hour, 15-minute increment, and then they want more money. They're just protecting themselves. Another thing, to some businesses, it costs them money to write you a check.
Yes.
I mean, the bigger businesses setting you up, all this type of stuff. So, I would prefer us to know what the number is all the time. It's variability that upsets me. 1 month
Yeah.
is this, 1 month is that. I know it's a project. I know it's 3 months. I know it's 30,000. I know at the end of month 1, I'm getting this. At the end of month 2, I'm getting this. At the end of month 3, I'm getting this. And like I said, even if you have it done, don't give it to them. If they're in trouble, they need it early, maybe then. But I mean, you spend a lot of time on this and focus on the outcomes.
Yeah. It's, and even like getting paid monthly, you can also get paid in different chunks, like half up front and half at the midpoint, or a third, and a third, that kind of thing. The idea is never work so that you are waiting for money. You want your money first, then you do the job, because you can't take back an intangible product. You can't send Guido over with a with a with a crowbar.
Yeah, whatever.
You can't, there's nothing you can do. So you have to kind of, look after yourself. Get your money first, and deliver on your promises. There will be trust. Okay. So anybody else have any questions? So I would think focusing on value really does build a long-term relationship. Oh, somebody's talking? You're good? No? Okay. So I'm thinking focusing on value then really does help build long-term relationships over focusing on dollars, right?
Yep. Value that are tangible and outcomes. I mean, reframes the discussion. Actually, the book that I was involved with, and it says value first, then price. Because once we set the value, I'm making numbers up. I think if I do this for you, it'll be create $100,000 of value, cost savings, or revenue improvement. The fee to do this is 20,000. Okay, that's this ROI. Oh, we need this. If I come to you and say I'm going to do a sales and marketing project and I want 20,000, you will never wait to hear the benefit.
Mm-hmm.
You will always focus on the 20. So the book is called Value First and Price, and it's an old, I'm going to call it an English saying, but this Scottish procurement gentleman, he goes, never bury the lead. And it took me a second. I'm like, I've heard that before. Newspapers, you put the big number up front. Then you explain to me, how am I going to get there? Like, are you interested? If you're, people are saying, I can't get access. Based on what you look like and based on where I think you are, I think I can do this for you, which would be worth that. Oh, okay. Now I'm willing to spend the hour talking with how would you do it? Where have you done it before? What tools do you have to do it? What happens if you don't do it? But I've been in business for 10 years and I've got a lot of client successes. What I found was a lot of clients just turn off or don't have time or not interested. So number first, then how do we get there and why? And then the price or the investment associated with it.
Yeah. So even in your marketing material, on your website, value up at the top, right? These are the outcomes that you can get. Speak to your, you're speaking to your ideal customer. You do it in your sales presentations, you do it in your conversations. It's always that first. Yeah.
And if you can put some numbers to it, and again, these aren't guarantees, they need to be reasonable, but increased sales 15 to 40%. Hopefully you've got some success stories over your career. Increased margin, because I always joke, increasing sales, that might be bad for you if you're not making money. I know companies, the more they sell, the less money they actually have. So increase sales, increase margin, increase customer satisfaction, and with your own experience or some ranges, and then people can start saying, oh, that'd be worth that. If I'm a $1 million business and I can increase by XYZ, that's what it would be. Now, the question is, what's the investment?
Excellent. Anybody else? Any questions, comments? You're such a quiet bunch today.
Holidays.
All good? Oh my goodness. So Todd, some of these questions I have, they seem a little redundant. I don't want to keep asking the same kind of question, but because we keep talking about the value of putting the value first, value always over dollars. So whether it's the way you charge, the way you write, the way you talk, all of those things. Do you have any other tips that you could provide our fractionals today?
So, again, just think also of your own value proposition. I mean, again, we're our own businesses, and again, can we start putting some harder numbers to these things to help customers with the business case so they can justify the investment? Another thing, I wouldn't say off topic, think of the words you use. So I've got a slide, and I was just laughing with somebody. I mean, price and cost are two different things. But in my old company, Fortune, one blah, 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 big company, they use the wrong term in half the material. Do you want a lower price or a lower cost or more value? Those are three different things. And I know we have a finance gentleman on the line. So it's like people assume if they pay a lower price that their costs are going to go down. That's an assumption. You could buy the lower, cheaper, pick something, but it uses more ink, doesn't last as long, breaks more often. And I'll leave you with an example because this might resonate with everybody. Tomorrow, you're now going to be in charge of selling photocopiers or printers, Kodak printers, we'll say. What do you think the metric you should sell on is? So you could sell based on the price of the unit. I'm making it up. $300 for the desktop size. You could sell on the benefit. This one's color, this one's faster, this one is digital, this one's Wi-Fi enabled. Maybe you would bring in ink cost. Our ink's $40, their ink's $50. And what some of the smarter people have done is said, what I'm going to do is say, on average, my printer costs 4 cents a page to print. Right. That's the number that we should be looking at because I just watched a bad procurement cycle on this because they were focused on the price of the printer, the $300 printer and the $250 printer. And the company said, well, they all print. It's a home office. I've worked it from home for 20 something years. We don't need some big, fast printing machine. So they said, well, we'll buy the $250. Then we had to buy the ink online. And it turns out the ink was $52 a cartridge. But they should have done how many pages does that ink print? How many pages on average does somebody print at home? Let's assume it's 3 years and did a simple calculation. They took each wrong metric and, made a wrong decision. So I think if anybody's got a home printer, we realize after a while, it's not the printer price, it's the ink price. But, what's better, the $60 ink or the $40 ink? Well, 40 is better than 60. It's how many pages it prints.
That's right.
There should be a measurement somewhere where you can do it. So if Kodak's got a thing online where you do some dragging and dropping, trying to say, change the metric, think differently. Yeah, I saw somebody there.
You should had to leave.
Okay. Sorry. It's like
Amanda had to leave. Yeah. Not because you're not doing. She had something. She had to go see her daughter. She had to go get something. So.
Yes.
So anyway, any other questions? Any comments?
I have a question. This is Ina. Increasingly with a remote workforce and a fractional workforce, I'm coming up against competing with different fractionals who might live in other countries where the rates are different, but maybe we have the same level of experience. How have you dealt with proving value across a big world?
Ina, can I ask what your focus is? What are you in marketing?
I'm in marketing.
Okay, it'll help me respond.
Yeah, I'm in marketing, and I've been being told that they could get the services for much cheaper with same level of experience in other countries. And so I'm
I'll
just
go to
wondering, how do you
Fiverr
address
for,
that?
yeah,
Yep,
for
yep,
a dollar an hour, but you get what you pay for.
Right.
that's one. And I don't have it in front of me, but there's funny enough, there's a study, and it's from the automotive world. But this, I said, listen to this because it's a great example. They proved that the closer the supplier was to the factory or to the buyer, the more value they got. And they had it at 28%. You got a problem? We're in the same time zone. Anybody ever try to deal with Asia? Your nighttime, my holiday, your holiday?
Yeah,
And
takes
I
2 days.
would write these things down. I mean, I have a slide somewhere but I mean, time to response better. Imagine the communication confusion that happens. And I'm trying to be rude, disrespectful to people whose English isn't their primary language. But we've all been with the frustration. I said this, you heard that. I used the word price, you used the word cost. I mean, you're spending more time, whether they bill by the hour or not. There's going to be more time involved. I'm trying to go back to the automotive one. I mean, I think it was a lot. I wouldn't say fluffy stuff, but it was from Kellogg, a big school in the States that did this study, and they said innovation. Just by the proximity, innovation was better. Cultural innovation, brainstorming, and again, let's just assume it's somewhere else in the world. Creativity. I hate to say, you could say that you're just more creative and let them think. The experiences I've had with other cultures, their creativity is different. Maybe that's a better way to say it.
Yeah, they see things differently. When you're in a creative space, it's some like taste is cultural,
Mm,
right? My children's father is Middle Eastern, so I had been given all kinds of jewelry that they love in the Middle East, and which is beautiful, but we would never wear it anywhere here. It looks
mm,
so out of place, and it's like really ornate and like a bit much. Right. So to put this beautiful thing on your neck, my God, it's gorgeous. But then you think, okay, where am I going to wear that? You know what I mean? And so it's called taste is a cultural thing. And so when you're doing creative work, that's important because your branding, all of that stuff has to look right, according to the geography that you're in. So you're right, that is absolutely one element. And being nearby should never be undervalued, under like being able to being accessible. And you're going to have to sell stuff. You have to differentiate yourself. There's a whole world of competitors even within your geographic region. You have to find ways to differentiate yourself among everyone else. Why are you better or different? And that's what's got to make that cost, your $100 an hour better than their $5 an hour.
I mean, yeah, not to make it into a big research project, but if you Googled, you know, marketing mistakes when people have used international suppliers, I can't remember, but there's some famous ones. I think a car company put a car name on a car and it was offensive in some countries. I
Yes.
actually remember doing this. I was in a
Yeah, that was
country.
the back in it was the Chevy Nova, because in Spanish Nova means doesn't go.
Oh, see,
They couldn't
that was
sell
that
that
one.
car in
Yeah,
Mexico. They
yeah.
couldn't sell it. Yeah,
There's one of them. I think
yeah.
Coca-Cola screwed it up doing something. I screwed it up. I was someone, I can't remember the word. I used an American Canadian word, and somebody just started giggling, and it meant something that stuff that would go like it wasn't a bad word, but I mean, have some of these examples because I think when you're doing a sales pitch on this type of stuff, Ina, storytelling is the most effective. I hate to say threatening, but I'm 42% faster because I'm local, and there's no currency conversion because blah blah blah. It's all but storytelling. I was talking to some colleagues on a call, and one of them told this story, one of them said this, and then the final thing is do what I call a risk analysis, and I'm going to make numbers up that your program charge for that customer is 25,000. These other people, I mean, the labor rate, but there's somebody making money even at 20,000. But the value is going to be 100. I mean, it's $5,000 difference, but we're talking this improvement. I mean, if it's just, and I hate to use the term copy because I was talking to somebody that does, like, I write a lot of stuff for like journals and books. And I said to this guy in Chicago, I said, have you found a noticeable decrease in your business with Chat GPT? Like, I could write something horrible and put it through that, and at least is, I hate to say reasonable. And he goes, Todd, I deal with high-end Fortune 1000 clients. That's not my business. And I said, good for you. Like, again, he had 3 professors writing an article. They're not trusting Chat GPT. The risk reward of Forbes or Fortune saying we're not accepting your articles because you saved $1,000 by getting a cheaper copy editor or whatever his term is. So I went, okay, he's found a way to differentiate the marketplace he goes after. Because yes, over time you will see certain services become more and more commoditized. Well, because of technology and everything else.
I was standing in the airport in Madrid a few years ago, and I look up and there's this big sign that I took a picture of it and I even put it on LinkedIn. I said, this is what happens when your copywriter doesn't speak English. So the sign was written in English, but it was completely unintelligible because I think what they were trying to say is, you can leave your, it was maybe a valet service or something for the, so why it was in English in an airport in Spain, I don't know.
Yeah.
For a valet service, because most people would be flying in and out and there would be no valet, like you're not bringing your car. In any event, it was something about keys to car, but it was leave. It was not correct English. It was
Yeah.
the wrong use of the words to and go, and like it was all crooked English. It just didn't make any sense. So that's why you don't hire people who don't speak English to write your copy, right? Or who don't speak English as a first language to write your copy. The graphic designer is not necessarily a writer. Your web developer is not a writer. They can make it pretty, but the copy needs to be done by a specialist. A graphic designer, I don't do, like, if I want something really nice done and graphically, I don't do it myself because I'm a terrible graphic designer. I've got like no imagination. I give that to somebody who can do it well. And so, if you want to, maybe you want to go on Fiverr or whatever and hire a freelancer, nothing wrong with that. But understand that $5 an hour or whatever that you're paying for something might not even be worth that. And you don't know how many hours they're going to take to do it and how much they're milking you for it. You know what I mean? That's a whole other, that was our earlier conversation. So it just show value, right? Value is how you differentiate yourself from everybody.
And the last thing that just popped in my head again, we don't want to threaten customers, but when you story tell, you can tell stories. And I've got slides somewhere, but a lot of companies that started to produce, this is products in Asia, but it's also with service people. Apple got themselves in trouble. Are they using fair labor laws? Are these kids doing the work? Do you want to be the person on 60 Minutes where they're, and again, this sounds kind of threatening, but stories you tell. I know this guy in the States, he tried this once. And next thing you know is the corporate compliance people are getting calls that they're not sure that the people are legal that are doing the work, let alone they're of age or how many hours they worked, and he got yelled at, way to save a few grand, use my name, Todd, way to save a few thousand. Again, I hate to say we're making up stories, but there are stories. Mattel, the toy company, got themselves in real bad trouble. The Chinese, I think it was China, but the paint they used had lead in it. Yes. Then the iPhone got in trouble for locking people in buildings to build iPhones. I mean, it didn't affect their stock price, I don't think. But again, there's enough stories out there now where you just want to put that in the back of their mind and say, there's bigger places for me to go save a buck than that.
Yes.
The risk reward doesn't make sense.
And then you're giving your credit card maybe to somebody in another country who you don't know. They might have some criminal affiliation. So maybe they're not really in the business of doing lead generation, but they're in the business of stealing credit card information, under the guise of lead generation services, for example. Or and so identity theft and all kinds of stuff. So like be really careful about who you do business with. And that's why, like personally, I like to stick with people who are geographically or culturally similar. So within the, you know, Canada, US type thing, because I have more reach for a problem. You know, if I have a problem, I have the ability to contact them a lot more easily than if I'm calling somebody overseas, you know.
Especially if you have you know, mutual connections. You know,
Yes,
the old joke is you only buy a boat on your own lake because they're not going to screw somebody they know, right?
yes,
They're all in
yes,
the same group. You buy it from somebody you've never met. You don't know what they did to get the boat to work. It's a boating joke, but yeah, again, the risk we're talking about. So
yeah.
again, hopefully
So,
there's some ideas buried in there, you know, for you.
Thank you. Yep.
anybody else?
I just want to say it was a great discussion today. And I'll give a shout out to Todd. I'm a big fan. But when I think of Todd, it's value-based pricing. Like if you know, he's the guy I think of when that topic comes up, wherever it is, what, you know, in whatever context. And you know, he's done a great job in that regard. So made himself
Very
the
good.
go-to source, I think.
Yeah,
could've
excellent work, Todd.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And thanks everybody for coming. And again, fire me an email or go LinkedIn, send me something if something pops up. I have ideas a lot. I've got examples to share. So I'm a
Perfect.
resource. Just always reach out for a quick chat.
May I
Thanks
just
so much.
ask a question before we hop off?
Yes, go. Sorry.
Guys.
So I do fractional HR and recruiting, and
Okay.
it's kind of easier for me to get into a company in the recruiting model when they really need to hire. Now, what I'm finding is most employers, you know, traditional recruiting, they charge 20-30% upon placement.
Okay.
Which means as a recruiter, you can work for free for a ton. And maybe they change their mind. Maybe they, you know, hiring managers can be all over the place. So I am trying this value-based and charging a little lesser of a fee, but asking for more money up front. And I continue to get kickback because they say, well, if we go with this other firm, we don't have to pay anything unless we hire. And it's not a scalable model, I find, if I'm working for free. Do you have any advice, experience in the recruiting space?
Not in the recruiting world. So this is just, again, me taking other ideas and you might say not applicable. So, but again, I mean, having two pricing models, you know, exclusive versus you're using other people. Another fee, which is, hey, the position's gone on hold, but I get the next position. I'm just making this up. You were trying to hire a salesperson, budgets went to crap. Imagine that. They decide to push it off. You know, I'll work with you, but you know, I'm your person. Every order is not going out for bid. If this is going to be a transactional relationship and every new position is going to go to 3 bids and a buy, here's my price. I don't want that business. I want a long-term relationship. So again, back to that pricing model, making numbers. If it's a one-time, I've got no guarantee. It's 30% plus. There's a fee for me to write the job description. There's a fee to do a cultural fit assessment test. Again, you're trying to productize, like put some meat on the bone. And back to trying to get some money up front. It's 30%. We'll just make an example. That's a $100,000 position, just to keep it simple. It's 30%, or, you know, it's 10,000 upfront for all these things: the job description, the salary range, the due diligence, the ideal client profile. You know what I mean? Ideal employee profile, blah, blah, blah. But then when I place them, it's only 18%. Well, wait, 10 plus 18 is cheaper than 30, but now you've got the deal. At least you got the 10 grand in. Plus, if you do all that upfront work, you're going to be better at finding the right person. I also think the volume idea, you know, where you have a subscription service. You know, I'm making this up. One hire, it's this package, but if it's multiple hires over a period of time, we can have a value price package program. Again, if you look at your, I assume it's the same. I don't know if you're in Canada or the States, but you know, a lot of them will have, if you want to go month to month on your cable bill and not sign a contract, it's $200. You commit for a year, it's $150. It always was 150. They just jacked up the one-off price. Nobody ever takes it.
Sure.
So it's kind of, I use pricing to get them to choose the version I want.
How
Now,
many models are too much to where it just gets super confusing?
question.
Shouldn't I keep it to like 3?
3 is the magic number. So
Okay.
really quickly, what a lot of products or services will do is they'll offer one. So it's a binary choice. I'm either going to buy it or not buy it. And then
Okay.
what you find is people create a stripped down low price version. Never do this. What you'll find is 70 or 80% of people will say that's good enough. I can get away with that. I don't need the full Monty, the Cadillac, the perfect model. You create a third one. Now there's 2 terms. One's called compromise effect and one's called the decoy effect. So real quickly, sorry to go off topic, Renee, but you go
Oh, no, this is interesting. Go.
you go to the movies with the kids, okay? They only sell one popcorn size, the $7 one, whatever it is now, the big one. I have a choice to either buy the $7 one or not buy. So right away I'm going, they never finished the damn thing. We're going out for dinner afterwards. You know, $7 is a lot of money, blah, blah, blah. So originally the movie theaters came out with a $7 one and a $3 one and assume that they're linear in size and price, just for argument's sake. And they found 82% of the people bought the $3 one. Assume it was $3.50 and it's half the size of the 7. Because we never finished the 7. The 7's excessive. Then some pricing guy came up with the $6.50 median. That's the one in the middle that nobody buys. But for this much more, look how much more I get. So just in your mind, I'm not going to pull slides up. Think popcorn, right? A $7
Small,
one,
medium, large. Yeah.
one. In that case, it's called the decoy. The $6.50, nobody's there to buy. Okay. Another similar one, similar but different. It's called the compromise. We're going to go out for dinner one day. We're going to go for dinner. We're going to get to a nice restaurant, steak restaurant, and there's going to be a $10 bottle of wine and a $30 bottle of wine. I know these numbers are bullshit, but 10 and 30, and people will start, but do I really need the 30? It's 3 times the price. Can it really be 3 times good? They put the $100 bottle of wine on there. Everybody looks at the $100 bottle of wine. Nobody buys it. Now the $30 one looks like a good deal.
Yes.
So if you go to a restaurant, they put that Chateaubriand, or now it's the Wagyu beef. It's nobody buys it. It's there to make the $60 steak look cheap. But if the $60 steak was the only option, $60 for a steak, that seems a little expensive. So that's where you compromise down. So you want them to choose the $30 bottle of wine. So just write $10 wine, $30 wine, $100 wine, circle the $30 wine. So 3 options. And you're using one of those 2 pricing strategies to get them to go. I've seen a great example on a slide for a speaker. I do some public speaking, and she's got 3 options. And I'm making numbers up, but 15,000, no customization, no books, 60 minutes. Which way did she go? 25,000 customization, 200 free books signed, hour ahead of time, and this. And 22,500, it's the decoy. I can't remember what she kind of did. She goes, once I put that one there, everybody bought the 25,000 because you get so much more than the 15.
Right.
3 options, not 2. Don't do a cheap one in this one because people will say
everybody buys the medium.
Well, it depends which one you want to buy.
Yeah.
Funny enough, there's somebody sitting there deciding which one you're going to buy. You know, do they want you to buy the medium or do they want you to buy the extra large because it's just a little bit more and look how much more I get, right?
Okay.
And I sell myself that way also. So 3 options. And the last one I leave there is consider putting in a performance kicker. You want to know what? Not 30%, but how about we do this? 25%, but every year they stay, I get 2%. I get, if you promote them, I get 10%. I mean, a good employee would stay longer. A good employee would be promoted. A good employee, most people won't enter into that option agreement. But if you're willing to put fee at risk because you're going to deliver a better product, this person's going to be promotable or stick around longer. That's different. Where the other, you're saying the other recruiter's job is to get somebody in there for the 6 months plus 1 day, wherever the contract.
They want someone with a pulse.
They want, they get them in. And we've all been there where they get pushed in the door and you're like, how did this happen? You know, they're looking for the churn. So if you want to hire someone that's going to last longer, can eventually become the VP of sales. Maybe we do something where I get paid as that happens. You want to get paid more. You're not getting paid the same amount in taking risk. If we take risk, we get paid more. But it might start a different discussion. In the last, real quickly, I've done this a bunch of times with clients, in kind of the value guarantees. And it does a few things. Okay, you're higher priced, Todd, than everybody else. There's 4 other people that do this in the marketplace, but you're going to guarantee value. Okay, now we have to agree, what is value? How do we measure it? What's the guarantee? It changes the whole discussion. None of my competitors do it, so now I'm different, and different can be valuable. 2, it usually gets me higher up at the customer because my contact goes, I can't sign that. Next thing I'm talking to the CEO of Asia, he's going, what do you want to do? You want to sell us this equipment and services, but you want to be performance outcome based versus a discount like your competitors are offering. The business model gets you different access. So if someone wants you to drop your price, fine. But now I want a reward when my person sticks around.
Okay. Do you think it would be too much to have 3 services for fractional HR and then 3 services for recruiting? Because it's really hard to combo those ones.
I think it's clear and simple. I think you just said those are 2 different things.
Okay.
You know, I mean, what you don't want, and I used to work with engineers, they thought the more offerings they had, the better. And they would send a spreadsheet that had 47 tabs on it.
Oh.
You know, because if I send it shows the customer I'm smarter than my competitors because I was able to do this. What procurement people start to do is unbundle. What if option B was this and option C was this, and the only difference was that, I can start unbundling. And then it's, well, I don't want this, but I want this, you know. And so if you have the 3 options, the last thing I'll say is you should also be able to sell each one of the services ad hoc, but you charge a very high price where they look at the bundle and go, I'm making this up. $20,000 to write a job description, $10,000 to do an interview. Shit, I'll buy the package. It's cheaper.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, it's how you self-select.
So your core offer, if the offer that gets you in the door is recruiting, that's your core offer. Your supplementary services are the other things. So once you have a relationship with a company, you can say, by the way, you know, I also do these other HR functions, and for a full year, you can get recruiting and you know, people management or whatever, policies and what procedures and things. You can get these things in a bundle for a bigger price. So you use the, correct me if I'm wrong, Todd, but you would use the recruiting to get in and then create something where you've got a whole big full year of stuff that includes everything.
Have it productized. I mean, in case a customer asks you for it, but I think Renee's right in the sense that you go in with too much, you confuse them. The company I work for, one of our offerings, people looked and went, what the F? Whoa. Get in with something they understand, then you could, you know, expand. But we went in trying to take over their business basically, and they're like, too much, too soon. Yeah, we know you're good, but this is too confusing.
Okay. That was so helpful. Thank you so much, both of you.
Good.
Nick, you're a quiet dude. Nick comes on the calls. He never says boo.
Well, no, it's super interesting. I'm just kind of absorbing.
That's okay, Nick. If you have any questions, feel free to shout them out before I wrap up. Have you got it figured out? Everybody's good? All right. Thank you all very much for coming. Thank you so much, Todd. This has been incredibly enlightening and really a lot of fun. So thanks a lot. And I will send you the recording. You can, anyone anyone's on the call can also check the recording later in the school community. All right. Have a
Thanks
great
for
day,
putting it
guys.
together. Thanks for everybody showing up. Take care and have a great holiday.
Holidays,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.